Hello! If you're watching this video, you may be concerned about your back health and safety. Well, don't worry. We're here to keep you informed and give you some tips to help keep your spine safe and strong. You could say we're here to watch your back. Certain exercises and movements can be beneficial for individuals living with osteoporosis. However, incorrectly doing these exercises, choosing the wrong exercises, or doing too much too fast can do more harm than good. It is important to be mindful about posture, loads, and other factors to spare the spine of injuries during exercise or leisure activities. With these activities, there are many spine-sparing strategies that can be implemented to keep your back safe. Osteoporosis is a degenerative disease that causes decrease in bone strength and increases the risk of fractures or breaks. This disease affects both men and women and can strike at any age. Over 80% of all fractures in Canada after age 50 are caused by osteoporosis. The common sites of fracture due to osteoporosis are the wrist, hip, shoulder, and spine. However, fractures of the spine are almost twice as common as every other fracture type. Exercise can reduce your risk of falling by increasing muscle mass and strength while improving coordination and balance. Strength training exercises should be modified to individual ability to ensure enough of a challenge. It is important to avoid overloading of bone and muscle to the extent that it would cause injury. Back pain and injury due to exercise and leisure can be avoided by following some of these simple tips. To begin, let's look at proper posture and form. Posture and technique are important. Improper posture can lead to different kinds of back injuries, such as muscle stiffness, sprains, vertebral disc herniations, and even fracture. Here are some examples on how to effectively perform movements necessary for exercise and leisure. When lifting, be sure to bend at the knees and not at the waist. If needed, use a hip hinge strategy. To perform a hip hinge, the first step is to find the hip. Place your hands at the crease of your hips and bend forward at the hands while keeping your back straight. For lifting smaller items off the floor, a golfer's lift is a great technique that is recommended to spare the spine of high loads. One leg comes off the floor behind you and acts as a counterbalance. The hip bends and the body becomes almost parallel to the floor. One arm reaches to pick up the object while the other can hold a counter or wall for support. Another tip is to try to keep whatever you're lifting close to your body and do not lift weights to high or low areas. For example, if you're grabbing a bag of flour when baking, make sure you hold it close to your body and do not grab it from overhead. Carry loads in two hands when possible rather than just one. Like when you're grocery shopping, carry your bags with both hands instead of holding everything in one hand. When wanting to turn your whole body to face where you're going, change directions with your feet. Don't try twisting or pivoting as it puts unnecessary strain on the spine. Do not sit for long periods of time to prevent spinal loading. For example, when knitting, avoid doing so for prolonged hours at a time. Instead, every half hour, stand up and take a short walk. And finally, avoid high-impact movements or exercise whenever possible. A simple strategy to help spare the spine is using abdominal muscles to help strengthen and stabilize. This involves activating and stiffening the abdominal muscles in preparation for an exercise or activity. In doing so, you greatly increase the level of stability in the spine. To activate or stiffen the abdominal muscles, pretend you're about to take a punch to the stomach. This is known as super stiffness and can be key in maintaining back health during exercise and leisure. Stabilization exercises are a simple way to reach low back health objectives. It is important to challenge the muscles, spare the spine of high loads, and ensure sufficient stability. Variations of these exercises are to be chosen with the patient's status and goals in mind. The bird dog exercise is excellent for spine sparing, applies very little compressive load on the spine, and is great for stabilizing back extensors. There are many different progressions for patients of different fitness and ability levels. Begin on your hands and knees on a yoga mat. The wrists should be under the shoulders and the knees should be under the hips. One arm or leg at a time, extend and put it straight out for a hold of 3 seconds. Repeat this with all 4 limbs. When this is perfected, one arm and the opposite leg can be lifted at the same time, repeated on both sides. It is important to remember not to go into end range flexion. In other words, do not push past your limits. In addition to making sure your back is safe for everyday activities, strength training is a great way to stay mobile and healthy and to keep your spine safe. Resistance exercises can be done at home either lifting your own body weight or using things like a can of soup or a bag of flour. Exercises like wall squats, bridging, and calf raises are low impact and will improve core strength. For wall squats, stand with your back against the wall and your feet slightly in front of you, hip width apart. Hold for 20 seconds at a time and begin to progressively hold longer. Work towards having your feet about 2 feet in front of you and your knees at 90 degrees. When performing a bridge, begin by lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet close to your bum. Press down through your heels and lift your bum so that your shoulders, hips, and knees are in a straight line. Hold for about 20 seconds and then start to progressively increase. To do calf raises, stand on a stair with the front of your foot on the step and your heels hanging off. Alternate between flexing and pointing your foot using your calf muscles to push you up. Resistance training should be done for about 30 minutes 3 times a week at a moderate to vigorous intensity. Aerobic exercises such as walking, biking, or swimming should be done for about 20 minutes every day at a moderate to vigorous intensity. A good way to judge how hard you're working is the talk test. At the point where you can no longer keep up a conversation because you're out of breath, you are working at a moderate to vigorous intensity. Overall, we recommend speaking to your doctor before performing any exercise to make sure what you're doing is right for you. We hope you keep these simple tips in mind to help spare the spine and reduce further injury when participating in exercise or when you're enjoying your leisure time.